Well, Spindletop Center is a community agency that works with people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities and people who have mental health issues. And we serve 4 different counties in Southeast Texas. We cover Orange, Jefferson, Hardin, and Chambers counties. And we work with pretty much every age group, starting with the very tiniest babies in our early childhood intervention program. We get calls from neonatologists while babies are still in the hospital who are premature because they're likely to have developmental disabilities. And then we work with everybody all the way up through children, adults, into the geriatric population.
2004, when I had my breakdown, I was at my parents' house alone most of the time, isolated, and not a lot of contact with the world. During that period, I would also go into trances, and I would start moving backward and forward and backward, and I would just stay in that trance for forever, it seemed like. And I would imagine all kinds of things. Sometimes I would visually hallucinate. I started hearing voices. Most of it was religious oriented. I remember I thought God was talking to me. The average person doesn't understand how real these voices are. The voices are, it's as if a person is just standing right next to you and you're hearing these things. Studies have shown that homeless people just being exposed to the conditions of homelessness lessens their life. So I would have been out there on the streets doing no telling what if MHMR hadn't have intervened and helped me. Oh, my life today is great. I live at the Prescott boarding house. I go to church with them at Cathedral of Faith Baptist Church here in Beaumont. I'm in the choir, singles ministry, book review ministry. Academically, I'm working towards my first degree, which would be Bachelor of General Studies. And then after that, I'm probably going to do post-bac work in either criminal justice or history or English.
Here at Spindletop Center, we provide services after disasters, and it's one of the things that I'm really proud of how well we do this for people. After there's a hurricane or a flood, we're designated by the state as the agency that comes in and provides sort of like mental health first aid. And we come in and we provide services to people that have been seriously affected by disasters. That can be anything from providing counseling to helping them fill out all the myriad of forms that come along with a FEMA disaster or a state-declared disaster. And what we know is that people who are able to talk about it get that kind of assistance fairly quickly after they've been affected. It really helps them recover. It helps the quality of their lives, and that kind of debriefing gives them tools and skills that they need to cope better for the future.
It's very important for a person with a disability, just as a person without a disability, to be able to feel like they are contributing to society. And by having a place to go and to work and to produce. To give you an idea of the types of jobs we find for people, we have individuals who work in the school setting, individuals who work in a hospital setting, individuals who work also in grocery stores, department stores, pretty much any area that you would see that any person without a disability would work.
The LEAP program was developed to help people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities develop communication tools. Many of these people are not able to communicate when things are hurting them, when they're hungry, when they have a need, and the communication tools that we develop in the LEAP program provide them options for that. We design things that are individualized so that each person has a piece of equipment that they can use to communicate to their caregiver or their family exactly what's going on with them. And for many of them, it's the first time that they've ever been able to communicate at all.
My name is Casey Freeman. I am 31 years old. I am in a wheelchair because of a 1995 deer automobile accident. While attending leave, they made sure I
Casey was in an automobile accident 10 years ago, this past December. She was in a nursing home for 2 years, and she moved in with me. Casey's lived with me for the last 8 years. Well, the doctor said she never would walk, she never would talk, she never would eat again, that she'd probably just more or less, be there. And with the people that's worked with her and helped her, well, she's able to eat now. She started eating about 6 months ago, and they removed the tube.
When we first met Casey, Casey was tube fed and did not use her electric wheelchair and used her communication device very little. She had already obtained skills because she had worked at an attorney's office. So what we did was we took her here, we brought her here and started training her. She's learning how to use a computer. Her desire is to live on her own. What we're trying to do is let her get as independent as she can. She needs to obtain that ability as well as all the ability she can on the computer.
Yeah, Leaf has helped her become more independent to reach her goals, and she's really made a big improvement.
It's really great. It's very rewarding, especially someone like Casey. When you watch Casey grow from someone that couldn't use her computer and relied on her providers to being able to do it herself and to be able to email without anyone's assistance.
Some of the people who come to LEAP actually don't have an intellectual disability, but they have a physical disability or a birth defect that has prevented them from being able to communicate. In fact, some of them have disabilities like cerebral palsy. And with cerebral palsy, those people are really smart, smarter than you or I, and they just didn't have the tools before to be able to communicate their thought processes.
Hello, my name is J.D. Plaster. I have been coming to LEAP for over a year.
JD, his name is Jerry Don. He was born with cerebral palsy. JD is at the beginning of his business. He's had his business for quite some time, and when he came here, we realized some of the things that he needed to work in the community that he was missing. So that's what we focused on with JD, his communication device, for him to learn to use that out in the community, for him to, with his business cards that he was making, it was very cumbersome for him at the beginning because he didn't have adaptive equipment. And now he can relax and use his head instead of trying to use a finger with adaptive equipment. So he's increased his time and his workload. We did realize he had mistakes, so we proofed. We told him about proofing his material. He's gone out and found a couple of contracts on his own. He's doing things for churches and bulletins and business cards and greeting cards. Here at the center, he wants to help us and the consumers here learn the skills that he has. So we've placed him in charge of showing them how to make Mother's Day cards.
Trying to make the clients feel like they're useful.
What did you feel like now?
They're making their own cards
For
each of their mothers. He's helping them make their cards for the first time. First time ever. Yeah. That's amazing.
You'll see the faces. You'll see.
You ought to see their faces.
Since JD's been here, we've realized that JD has a lot of abilities that we need to use with some of the other consumers. Even though he can't use his hands, he can talk and he can teach. So he will stand and he will instruct someone on how to access those programs that he's been using for quite some time.
Before he came
here,
I'm teaching nobody.
he didn't help anybody.
Because nobody believed me.
Nobody believed
Nobody
him.
believed in you, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He's even made Susie business cards.
People with intellectual and developmental disabilities want just what you and I want. They don't want to be institutionalized or separated from their family and friends. They want to have friends and a social life. They'd like to be able to work. They'd like to live in a community. And why shouldn't they be able to do that? We have staff that are able to really utilize the technology and individualize it for each person so that they have exactly what they need to meet their own needs.